And joining our conversation, National Trial Attorney Michael Jaafar. He is in Michigan. Michael, welcome to you. I don't know how much opportunity you had to hear the closings from either the state or the defense, but bottom line is, we were talking last hour, this is a tough hill to climb, this idea of any intent here. What's your take on what happened, what they should be found guilty of, and what the reality is? Given the heinousness of the crime, a jury in South Carolina might just come back and throw the book at them both because they're so disgusted by the death of this little girl.
This is a conservative state. There was only one move for them to make, which is to put the defendant, both of them, on the stand and have them testify. The fact that the mom didn't testify shocks me. I mean, it's shocking. I'm trying to come up with an explanation as to, what the logic would have been for her not to testify. Her daughter died at her hands. She's being accused of it. She's defending herself. This is the time for a mom to jump on the stand and say, and cry and throw herself at the mercy of the jury and say, this is, you guys have it all wrong. You've heard another story now for months. I made a mistake. I'm devastated. And that was the time for her to do it. And she didn't do it. I'm baffled. I think they made the right decision initially to say she's going to testify. I think it was a terrible decision for her not to testify. Now, we're not in the room. We're not in the, for all we know, she told her attorneys, I was drunk. I was hot. I mean, we don't know, right? I've got to assume those attorneys really, they know what we know, and then some. But maybe we'll know one day why she didn't testify. But without her testifying, that's a major knock against her defense.
Michael, it seems to me this is a classic manslaughter case as well, but it's not. We haven't heard anything about lessers here, which is, are they rolling the dice and going just for this murder, or? And maybe they're there, but I didn't hear in the defense close a direction of, hey, there's also this, and this fits a little bit better than the murder. What's your overall thought? Because Marie's correct, there is the committing great bodily harm on a child as that second charge. That's got a top maximum 20 on it. Has this been charged wrong?
When you listen to the prosecutor, you hear two things in his voice. One, you think he thinks he's got a winning hand. And secondly, you see the passion and you see how angry he is. He knows that the mom, the defendant, is listening to him. She's right next to him, and you can see the devastating impact of his oratory on her body, on her soul. She's done. Doesn't matter. She wins this case. She gets convicted of one of the lesser crimes, of all the crimes. Her life is over, right? After hearing that, I was sweating, right? I agree with Marie. I think he kind of hurt his case a little bit because he was essentially saying, he was expecting the jury to expect something about a weeping mother that's going to be difficult. It's going to be a stretch. But they believe they have a winning hand. And so I believe that prosecutor, by reading his body language, he does not think there's a chance he's losing this case. He's got video. In his opinion, he's told the jury this girl was tortured. She was cooked from the inside and the outside. So I think that is why they charge her the way they charge her. I don't think this prosecutor thinks there's a single chance he's going to lose this case. I don't think he believes there's a moment where an instance where the jury is going to say he did not meet his burden.
Michael, last word on that. Do you think there's a chance that this is an egregious situation and it is heartbreaking, and if you had that little girl's face in your mind and what she went through in your heart, I don't know. I think you could convince jurors to come back with anything. Juries
play through emotion, and the emotion in a courtroom will affect the jury's decision. The jury would have to make a mistake to convict them of first-degree murder. There's no malice. There's no intent. There's no way. They're not going to do it. They haven't done it. They're not going to meet that burden. There's too much evidence that there was no malice aforethought. the prosecution did not meet their burden on that. The jury would have to make a mistake to render a conviction on that higher charge. Recklessness, negligence, absolutely, right? It was South Carolina. It was 95 degrees. You left her in the car. You can easily claim that they were negligent, right? Because you don't have to prove specific intent. This is but you have to prove specific intent to render a conviction for the high charge. They didn't do it. They didn't meet that burden. But a jury could make that mistake because of the fact that she was nonverbal. Look, just one last thing. I just concluded a case where I represented a nonverbal autistic kid for 4.5 years. I saw the effect it had on his parents. I saw the effect that their lives, how it was affected, right? It's different. It's a different thing that you have to go through. What I told the other side was it was like hurting an infant, right? It's the same thing. This girl, she was older, but she was an infant, and she died, and that's why the prosecutor was digging in the knife and twisting it with the torture, and her organs were cooked, because he wanted the jury to go back thinking that.
Yeah, and no, we've been going back thinking of it for this last week, and it's horrible every time. And when you watch that video, if you're thinking about her, it's horrible, horrible. If you're thinking about them and trying to analyze it, then it's a dead take. But the moment you start thinking about what she's going through, it is just heart-wrenching. Forgive me both if I cut you off. Marie Pereira is still with us. She's in New York, and Michael Jaafar is in Michigan. Michael, when you watch that video, there's a portion after they find out the key's not working, and then they go sit on the swing. And it just, the immediacy, they still think, I think, that the air conditioning's on,
That video alone, if there was no other evidence, easily establishes recklessness. Because they sat down, they checked the cell phone. At that point, they knew that they didn't have a lock. They had to leave to get a lock. They kept, they clearly were reckless, right? Did it rise to the level of, first-degree murder? I don't believe so. But watching that video, I'm just speechless. I mean, I have no words. This is, it's kind of just watching it is, the jury has had to watch that video, and the prosecutor's telling them that this girl was tortured and she burned alive. So I don't understand. I'm speechless. I'm at a loss for words. It's recklessness is easily established by this video.
Marie, they're sitting on the swing. They know they can't get in. They got to deal with it. They got to find another key. They got to figure this out, right? But there's no immediacy. I mean, this is a very hard way to get to. I think it kind of weirdly helps them and their idea that they think the air conditioning's on, because if they didn't think the air conditioning's on and they can't get in, now it's time to break the windows, which Larry offered to do, and Rita said, no, don't do that. Yeah, because and then at the end when they find her, the reaction you can tell from Mom is she's shocked and is upset. And here they are. There's just no immediate. These might be the dumbest two people on the face of this planet, Michael.
Yes.
Yeah, because even just if they thought the AC was on, they were sitting next to the car. I don't know if a jury is going to believe when they go back into the box that these people sitting next to a car incorrectly thought that the car was on. It's an older car. It makes sounds and noises when it's on, especially when the AC is on. You've got the radiator and you've got the exhaust, and you've got, there's more noise that emanates from a car when an AC is on than if just the heat is on, right? Because there's a compressor, there's a coolant, there's all kinds of stuff. A car is very loud on the outside when the air conditioner is on. And the hotter it is outside, the louder the car is, and especially this car. It's not a newer car. So I believe the jury are going to go into the box and say they knew this car was not on, but it was reckless. They clearly were negligent. I don't believe there's a chance the jury is going to believe that they intentionally killed this person, this girl.
I don't know. We'll see. While we wait, Michael, hearing the sister, does it change your opinion on whether mom should have testified today, or I mean, the daughter?
No, it did not. It reinforced it on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of the efficacy of a witness. If I'm judging the daughter's testimony on a scale of 1 to 10 on how good it was, I'll rate it an 85. It was the absolute best witness you could possibly have when you're defending yourself on a murder charge. She was absolutely phenomenal. It still doesn't, but it doesn't explain why the mom wouldn't just go in there and add to it, right? She's not going to hurt it. I mean, the daughter seems sincere, which would mean that the mom would have the same type of efficacy. She's crying in the courtroom already. You might as well just get on the stand, cry on the stand. Come on, woman, you're already crying. You should be crying. Get in there and fight for your life. I'm your attorney. I can't really do it for you. I can't testify for you. I wasn't there. You can testify on your own behalf. And that's what I would be telling her. Get up there, cry on the stand, defend yourself. I'll be there with you, but you have to be the person in the chair.
But right now, for discussion, let's bring in our guest for this hour. Still joining us with Court TV, we have criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Marie Pereira and national trial attorney Michael Jaafar. Thank you both for being with us.
She should have listened to Michael Jaafar, but she didn't.
Michael Jaafar, your thoughts on that? I mean, it was a very powerful moment, whether it's going to move the needle or not. What'd you think?
Thank you so much, Marie. I've been pondering this, and I have a theory. I think there's only one rational explanation for why she didn't testify. If you take the position that her attorney is a good attorney, and I think he is, based on the way he's conducted himself in this case, and the fact that she said she's going to testify, and then she didn't, and then her daughter testified, here's my theory. She intimated to her attorney that she planned on perjuring herself on the stand, and he told her she's going to be impeached with facts about the meth. It has to do with the meth. And he told her it's going to tank your case. You're going to be brought up as a liar on something very, very important, which is that you took meth and then your daughter died after that. And then on top of that, I'm going to have to quit your case because I cannot be your attorney if you're perjuring yourself. The jury will be excused, then they'll come back in the courtroom, and then I won't be there, and they'll know what happened. That's the only explanation I had, because here he brought up her daughter. Her daughter did not have the same baggage as the mom, and then he brought up the mom in his closing argument, and he had her cry to the jury because he wanted the jury to see her crying and remorseful, but he didn't put her on the stand. That's my theory. That's the only thing that explains it, you know, because, I mean, she didn't testify, but she did everything else, all the accoutrement around it. That's my theory. He knew she was going to perjure herself, and he knew that that was going to tank her case.
Michael Jaafar, you know, this is a lady who is once a teacher of the year. So the small community of Colleton County in South Carolina, she had been on the news before for being such a great person and a teacher of the year, all over the local stations. Then, right before the pandemic, she's arrested with these horrific allegations and charges. So we always say, you know, a jury is supposed to go in blind. But do you think that that will matter as they head into that deliberation room?
No, they're going to take all the emotion into the deliberation room with them, right? They're going to see a woman here who, you know, she's clearly dating a younger man, and she did something out of character, because that's what her defense attorneys have said. This is out of character, right? They're trying to keep her out of jail for the rest of her life, murdering her daughter, right? So they have to show that what she did was out of character. She was dating a younger man. She did something way out of character, and so there was no intent here. Marie has analyzed this case perfectly. Before I came on, I watched her analysis of it. If you want to know how this case is going to be analyzed from a legal standpoint, she's already explained it. So I think that the jury, when they go in there, Matt, they're going to take all the emotion with them. They're going to see her history. They're going to see that this was completely out of character. And I think they're going to come back with a judgment of acquittal on the higher charge.
What do you think their theory is? Well, let's bring in our attorneys that are watching along with you at home, Marie Pereira and Michael Jaafar. And Michael Jaafar, how do you overcome that as the defense, though?
I mean, yeah, there's only one way to overcome it, because you're going to be forced, obviously, as the defense attorney, to come up with an explanation. So if they can establish that this, in fact, is him and he placed it there, the only way to overcome it is to say that they had a relationship, he was there. You'd have to place your client at the scene of the crime. We've seen many excellent defense attorneys in the past place their clients at the scene of the crime. Sometimes they succeed, sometimes they don't. But they will then have to place him at the scene of the crime, and they'll have to explain why he was there, and they will have to explain he was there for a different reason. He had a prior relationship with her. It wasn't, a break-in. He was there for a reason. He was there with permission, but he wasn't the person that killed her. He would never do something like that. So that's the only way to overcome it as a defense attorney is, hey, place him there, but explain away why he's there.
So they're pausing the video there in this testimony that took place yesterday. Perfect time to talk about it with our guests. Still with us, Marie Pereira and Michael Jaafar. Michael, to you first. What do you think the strategy is here in showing it that this particular part in time of the trial, if it involves also the roommate and the initial call, and we've heard testimony about that before this was played. Is that helpful, more helpful to reiterate certain points? Is that why they do it that way, you think?
They must have a strategy. In order to really know whether or not the strategy is a wise one, we have to see it play out. But they did make promises that they're going to inject this this evidence. It's clearly important to them. You can see the courtroom drama and the theater of it. So whether or not this is a good strategy, I don't know, Matt. I want to see it play out a little bit more.
So let me ask you both this in short. Do you think that he'll take a stand? Michael first.
I think he might have to. Right, because if the evidence shows that it's leading towards him having murdered this woman, I can't see how he avoids taking the stand. But we've seen throughout trials, some evidence comes out that if you then take the stand, you would be impeached. So I want to reserve my judgment on that until I see the balance of the prosecution's case.
Okay. But
right now, I agree with Marie. He does look like he's guilty. I think he's going to have to take the stand.
Thank you both for being with us, especially on the Friday. I hope you have a good holiday weekend.